Hello, 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 and welcome to another Conversations with JR. I hope all is well with you. Tonight's topic, or should I say tea, is divorced women and how they reinvent themselves after the papers are signed, the ink is dry, the dust has settled, the smoke is cleared, and women who come out of divorce, if you haven't noticed, these women are making a strong comeback with reinventing themselves with confidence. They go through emotional healing. They are taking better care of themselves, better health. They have a better outlook, on life. This reinvention of self after a divorce is across the board of women. I am talking women of all colors, nationalities, cultural backgrounds, and religious beliefs. This is happening with middle class women, working class women, rich women, women in Hollywood. It just seems that women are no longer crawling into a corner after a divorce and crying themselves to sleep and wanting someone to play the world's smallest violin about woe is me, what happened during this divorce. Instead, they are moving forward without the assistance of seeking help from another partner. These women are enjoying their freedom, singlehood, raising children, and acquiring higher, degrees of education. They're moving forward in their careers, changing careers, buying houses, traveling. They look amazing. So, what is it about being divorced that seems to give women the means to reboot, reset, discover, or rediscover? They make powerful comebacks and they're living abundant lives. Haven't you noticed? Haven't you noticed that it's the women in Hollywood? It's the everyday woman who is deciding to pull themselves up by the bootstraps and move forward. What does this say about the union of marriage? Now, if you've been listening to Conversations with JR in my previous podcast, I talked about how marriage has lost its importance. It seems that marriage is not that important in today's society. Or is it about the people who go into the union of marriage? Or about how individuals are treated once they get married? You hear a lot of men say that the reason why they do not want to get married is because things change. Women change. Their lives has to change. And I think that we seriously need to pay attention to what's going on when people enter into the union of marriage. Now, I've talked to several women, more than 50 women who have been divorced. I, personally myself have stepped into those shoes. And I've heard the same answers from women about emotional abuse and financial abuse and being treated subservient and like sexual objects and having to take on the burden of taking care of children in a house and desiring to work outside of the home. And it's the reverse for the women who choose to stay home and be stay-at-home wives and stay-at-home mothers. They talk about how their position in the home is devalued and 100% of their time is used to be taking care of the family, and that they say that their position as a wife and a mother becomes like you're just a servant. Who are we as women when we get married? Here's my analysis. When a woman gets married, she disappears. You basically disappear. Let me explain. Women are forced into taking on their husband's last name. So therefore, they have to create this new person, this wife. And you become Mr. So-and-so's wife. You become, that's the mother of so-and-so. It's like you disappear. Your name disappear. And the only status that you have is somebody's wife and somebody's mother. The second aspect about the woman that disappears when she get married is that you begin to shrink, or you have to shrink yourself for the sake of their husbands. Women are taught that you must submit to your husband. They even teach that in the Bible, that you must submit, to your husband, and he's supposed to be the ruler over you. But what are these men are giving you to submit to? Are they a leader in the home? Or are they just beating their chests like they are king of the jungle? And you must submit yourself and obey them because they're your husband. Let me tell you a secret about this process of submission. Over time, women lose part of who they are. Your hopes, your dreams, your vision, your career aspirations. Anything that has to do with you and your desires has to be put on the back burner. It has to be put away in a box. Because now you are a wife. And if you're having children, you are a mother. And you don't have time. You shouldn't even think about. You shouldn't even want anything outside of what's for your family. And that becomes a burden. Because the only role you're supposed to play is the role of a wife and a mother. And you submit to the desires of your husband, and to your children you have to become superwoman. You become everything. But what is the role of the man in this marriage? What is the role of the man in this marriage? Women who dwell in unhappy marriages and partnerships, over time what happens is they become depressed, bitter, resentful, emotionally hollow. There is nothing there. You don't feel. There is anger. And you begin to fake everything in your life. And you're so good at making your whole life appear like it's magical, like it's beautiful, like you're happy in this dysfunctional marriage. You fake your smile. You fake everything. You just go through the motions. You convince the world that all is well. So let's fast forward. Women who free themselves from unhappy and dysfunctional marriages, from the bondage and the burden of just not being who you are. It's like you can't breathe. I hear some women say it's like they cannot breathe anymore. These women seem to be bursting forth. After spending some time with going through the healing process, because I know that they have to take time to go through the healing process and, work a lot of feelings out. But during this process, what happens is they rediscover who they are and who they are not. They actually discover who they are and who they are not. My experience was, just discovering what I like and what I want to be and what I don't like and what I don't want to be, because you're so used to being saying yes, 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 just for the sake of not another argument, just for the sake of just pleasing people. You have been locked into this bondage of just pleasing people and making everybody happy and sacrificing your happiness. Women who go through a divorce, you know, they have to they have to ask themselves, like, what happened? Ask yourself this: why couldn't these women be who they are now when they were married? Why? My last relationship was, I was engaged a few years ago. We're in 2024. So I guess this was about 2017 or 18, I would have to say. He did give me an engagement ring. I'm not going to make this a long story. But anyway, during the process, we did live together for a very short period of time. And during that period of time, he wanted to take away everything that I aspired to do. I just wrote my first book. I just created my YouTube channel and my blog. And I was just on my way up the ladder in my career. And things were finally happening to me that I worked so long. And he just came along and he just wanted to diminish every single thing. He interrupted me when I was writing. He didn't want to hear about my blogging. He did not want to hear anything about me as a writer, me as a speaker, me as an author. He didn't want to hear. Only thing he wanted me to pay attention to is the relationship and his needs and his wants and the relationship. And I was supposed to be everything that he wanted me to be when he wanted to be. And during that period of time, I couldn't write. I couldn't focus. I couldn't think. Everything was off. My health was off, my sleeping pattern, everything. It was only when I decided that no, I wasn't going to live in bondage like that. I wasn't going to live in unhappiness. This was supposed to be the most happiest time. I waited a long time to meet what I thought was the right man for me. I got out. And what happened when I got out? What happened when I got out? I got my own place again, reestablished myself, reinvented myself, and I was able to write 2 more books, reinvent my YouTube channel, start this podcast, write a play, move up in my career. I'm getting ready to graduate with another master's degree, and I did all of this because I was free to breathe, to move, to express myself, to be who I am, to have purpose in life. Now, women coming out of a marriage, we put up with a lot and we hear a lot. We hear a lot of people say, oh, she probably did something wrong, or maybe she didn't do what she needed to do to concentrate on her husband. There's a lot of old wives' tales and a lot of myths. I wrote about them in my first book, The Waiting Game. There's a lot of relationship myths that we grow up with and what women should be and should do and should not do in a marriage to keep a man. Women are tired. Look at the women in Hollywood. I'm talking about the women in Hollywood who have worked very hard for what they have. They are divorcing these men and they are starting out again all over, and their careers get better. Their lives get better. They thrive. And this is not only women in Hollywood. This is middle class, working class women who are deciding that enough is enough. What is going on in these marriages that women cannot find a balance or have creative freedom, be supported, have compassion, understanding? What is going on in these marriages that women are staying 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 years? And they decided enough is enough. And I don't want to hear that, people grow apart, people fall out of love. We need to pay attention. What's going on to women in their marriages? And why are we the ones that have to work so hard to keep everything together? What about our self-care, our mental health, our physical health? What about our dreams, our aspirations, our visions, the desire to move up in a career? I think women who work outside of the home, I think that they are being punished for wanting to work outside of the home and to, keep a little bit of independence about themselves. What is wrong with that? And then women who decide that they want to stay home and take care of their family because maybe financially it is better. Why are they put down for what they do for their families and how hard they dedicate themselves and sacrifice themselves for the good of their family? I am just so proud of women who, there's nothing good about divorce. It's breaking of a family. It's breaking of a family. Not only the husband and wife and the children, but all that's involved, all the families that's involved. It is breaking of a family. It's breaking of the family bond. But why should women stay in marriages where they are not valued, where they're not respected, where their voices is not heard, where they are not treated properly and taken care of? Why should women stay in marriages like that? What do they gain? What do they gain from this? We really have to, when we look at the rate of marriage, and I'm not talking about these little frou-frou marriages in Hollywood or people just jumping up and getting married and 2, 3 months later, 2, 3, 5 years later, whatever, they just decide that they're going to get a divorce. We have to look at what's going on in these marriages that is like it's holding women hostage. We are living in a society where women are bursting forward, bursting through, and they are gaining ground, and they are blossoming. And it's beautiful to see. Yeah, we can make it on our own. But, sometimes I sit down and I think about, I would like to have a date. I would like to have someone to hold my hand. I would like to have someone to travel with. I would like someone to plan my future with. But when I think about it, and I think about all the trauma that I have experienced through relationships, I understand that life is better the way that it is now. And that's a really hard thing for me to say. A real hard thing for me to say. Because I'm at a stage in my life where I'm getting ready to retire. And I would really, really like to have a companion. But when I think about all the drama that they might bring into my life, all the baggage they might bring into my life, I'm thriving right now. Thriving. And I would love to have a partner standing there with me side by side, growing together, maturing together, making plans together, having compassion, but I don't see it. So this is Conversation with JR. I hope this tea was good for you and that we think about it when you listen to this conversation and the content of this conversation. I'm not advocating for people to get divorced. What I'm saying is conversation can start the healing process. Conversation can start people to look at the situation that they are in and evaluate the pros and the cons. I am hoping that, we can start doing better with the union of marriage. That's what I'm hoping for. I know there's a lot of beautiful marriages out there, especially in the African American community. I know that there's a lot of long-lasting marriages and relationships, and they are beautiful. Let's do better. Let's be better. Let's treat each other better. Let's respect the union of marriage and respect the original reason why you stood before God and man with your spouse and said, I do. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like, share. Until the next time.